There is a reason this video appeared in front of you, right? Now, not coincidence, not algorithm, something deeper. You have been walking through a darkness so heavy that you forgot what light feels like. But here is what you don't yet see. The darkness was not sent to break you. It was sent to birth you. The version of yourself that no longer begs for closure, that no longer fears the unknown. Your resurrection has already begun. Listen carefully. The fact that you are hearing these words right now is not random. You were chosen to receive this message at this exact moment in your life. Not because you are special in the way the ego understands it, but because your soul has reached a frequency that can finally hear what it needs to hear. Carl Jung spoke of synchronicity, the meaningful coincidences that appear when the unconscious is ready to break through into consciousness. This video finding you is one of those moments. Your psyche orchestrated this encounter because something within you is ready to die so that something greater can be born. You have been suffering, not the surface kind of suffering that comes from missing a flight or losing money, but the deep existential suffering that makes you question whether life has any meaning at all. You wake up and the first thought is heaviness. You move through your day like a ghost. You smile when you need to, but behind that smile is an ocean of unshed tears. Maybe you have lost someone, not just physically, but emotionally. Maybe they are still alive, but the connection died. Maybe you have lost yourself. You look in the mirror and do not recognize the person staring back. You have lost your purpose, your passion, your faith. Everything that once made life worth living has turned to ash in your hands. And you have been asking the universe, why me? What did I do to deserve this? But what if I told you that you have been asking the wrong question? The question is not why this is happening to you. The question is, what is this preparing you for? Because here is the truth that will change everything. The universe does not punish its most powerful souls. It initiates them. What you are experiencing right now is not abandonment. It is alchemy. You are being refined in the fire so that when you emerge, you will be unrecognizable even to yourself. Jung called this the nigredo, the blackening, the first stage of alchemical transformation where everything must dissolve before it can be reconstructed. The old you must die, not metaphorically, actually. The version of yourself that sought validation from others, that needed to be liked, that feared being alone, that one must cease to exist. And that death feels like annihilation. It feels like you are losing your mind. It feels like the ground beneath you has vanished and you are falling through infinite darkness with nothing to hold onto. But this is not madness. This is awakening. You are not falling. You are descending into the depths of your own psyche to retrieve the parts of yourself you abandoned long ago. Think about this. Every great spiritual teacher, every mystic, every awakened soul, all of them walked through their own dark night. Jesus in the desert for 40 days. Buddha under the Bodhi tree facing his demons. Jung himself experiencing what he called his confrontation with the unconscious. A period of intense psychological crisis that nearly destroyed him but ultimately became the foundation of all his work. You are in that crucible right now. And I know it does not feel sacred. It feels like torture. But what is happening beneath the surface is extraordinary. Your consciousness is expanding. Your perception is deepening. You are being stripped of every illusion you ever believed about yourself and the world. And when that process is complete, you will not return to who you were before. You will emerge as someone who can no longer be manipulated by external circumstances. Someone who has found the unshakable center within. Someone who has integrated their shadow and made peace with their darkness. That is who is being born right now. That is what this pain is creating. But let us speak honestly about what you are feeling, because spiritual platitudes do not ease the ache. Someone telling you that everything happens for a reason does not make the loneliness any less crushing. So let me be real with you. This hurts deeply, and there is no bypassing that pain. You feel abandoned by people, by God, by life itself. You have given so much of yourself and received so little in return. You have loved with your whole heart and been met with betrayal. You have tried to do everything right and still ended up here, broken, exhausted, questioning whether you even want to continue. And the worst part is the silence. You reach out to the universe and hear nothing back. You pray and the heavens feel empty. You beg for a sign and all you get is more darkness. It feels like you have been forgotten, like you are screaming into a void that does not care whether you survive or not. But here is what Jung understood that most people do not. The unconscious does not speak in words. It speaks in experiences, in symbols, in the very situations that bring you to your knees. Your suffering is not random. It is communication. It is the deepest part of you trying to get your attention, the only way it knows how, by destroying everything false so that only truth remains. Every person who left your life was not punishment. They were removal. The universe clearing space for what is real. Every door that closed was not rejection. It was redirection, guiding you away from what would have kept you small. Every dream that died was not failure. It was liberation, freeing you from a path that was never truly yours. You see, the ego wants to preserve the familiar, even if the familiar is painful, even if it is killing you slowly. The ego prefers known suffering to unknown freedom. But the soul, the self, that deeper consciousness Jung spoke of, it wants wholeness. And wholeness requires letting go of everything that is not authentically you. That is why this period feels like death. Because it is. The death of the false self. The persona you built to survive in a world that demanded you be someone other than who you are. The mask you wore so long you forgot it was a mask. That identity is dissolving. And every time you try to hold on to it, the pain intensifies. But what if you stopped resisting? What if you surrendered to this dissolution? Not giving up, but giving in. Allowing the old structures to crumble without fighting to keep them standing. What would happen then? I will tell you what would happen. You would discover that beneath the rubble of your old identity is something indestructible. A core of consciousness that has been there all along. Waiting, watching, eternal. Jung called this the self with a capital S. The totality of who you are, not just the ego with its fears and desires, but the whole psyche, light and shadow, conscious and unconscious, human and divine. And when you touch that center even for a moment, everything changes. You realize that you are not this body that will one day die. You are not this mind that spirals into anxiety. You are not even this personality that feels so fragmented. You are the awareness that witnesses all of it. The consciousness that remains when everything else falls away. And that awareness cannot be destroyed. No matter what happens in your external life, no matter how much you lose, that core remains. Untouched. Whole. Free. This is what the dark night is revealing to you. Not that life is meaningless, but that the meaning you were chasing outside yourself was always a distraction from the meaning that lives within you. If this is resonating with something deep inside you, take a moment and subscribe to this channel. You are not here by accident. There are more truths waiting for you here. Now I want to speak about something practical. Because philosophical understanding is beautiful, but you also need to know that this nightmare is not permanent. You need to see the evidence that your consciousness is shifting even when it feels like nothing is changing. So let me tell you the signs, the subtle indicators that your dark night is coming to an end. Pay attention because you might be experiencing some of these right now without realizing what they mean. First, you start to feel differently about the past. The things that once made you bitter no longer carry the same emotional charge. You can think about the people who hurt you without rage consuming you. You can remember your failures without shame suffocating you. This is not forgetting. This is integration. The past is becoming wisdom instead of wound. Second, your dreams change. If you have been paying attention to your dreams, you might notice they are becoming less chaotic, less violent, less dark. You might dream of water, of light breaking through clouds, of climbing mountains or crossing bridges. These are symbols from the unconscious telling you that transformation is occurring beneath the surface. Third, you feel an inexplicable pull toward solitude. Not the desperate loneliness of abandonment, but a conscious choosing of your own company. You no longer need constant distraction. You can sit in silence without panic. You actually prefer it, because in that silence, you are meeting yourself for the first time. Fourth, certain things begin to disgust you. The superficial conversations, the fake connections, the mindless scrolling, the noise. Your tolerance for anything inauthentic drops to zero. This is not judgment. This is discernment. Your frequency has changed, and now you can only resonate with what is real. Fifth, synchronicities multiply. You think of someone and they message you. You need guidance and a book falls into your hands with the exact answer. You hear the same message from different sources in the same week. The universe is confirming that you are on the right path, that your consciousness is aligning with something greater. Sixth, you stop seeking closure from people who cannot give it. You realize that waiting for them to understand you is keeping you imprisoned, so you give yourself the closure. You write the letter you will never send. You say the goodbye in your heart. You release them not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself more. Seventh, you feel a quiet strength rising. Not the loud, aggressive energy of forcing change, but a deep calm knowing that you are being guided. You stop fighting the current and start flowing with it. You trust timing. You trust process. You trust that what is meant for you will find you when you are ready to receive it. And finally, you begin to see beauty again. Not in grand gestures or perfect moments, but in small things. The way light hits the wall, the sound of rain, the taste of your morning coffee. Life stops being something you are enduring and starts being something you are experiencing. Presence returns, and with it gratitude. If you recognize even one of these signs in your life, right? Now understand this clearly. Your dark night is ending. The dawn is closer than you think. You just have to keep walking. Let me tell you what is really happening in the invisible realm while your visible life appears to be falling apart. Because there are two realities operating simultaneously. The outer reality where everything seems broken, and the inner reality where everything is being reconstructed. Jung spent years studying alchemy, not because he believed in turning lead into gold literally, but because he saw that alchemical texts were actually describing psychological transformation, the process of turning the base material of the wounded ego into the gold of the integrated self. And that process has stages, predictable stages, which means you can map where you are and know what comes. Next, you have already been through nigredo, the blackening, the death and decay of your old identity. That is what this dark night has been. The complete dissolution of who you thought you were. And it has been agonizing. I know, but it was necessary. Now you are entering albedo, the whitening, the purification. This is where clarity begins to dawn, where you start to see the patterns that have been running your life unconsciously, where you recognize your shadow, your projections, your wounds, not to judge yourself, but to understand yourself. In this stage, you begin to separate what is yours from what was programmed into you. You realize that many of your beliefs are not actually yours. They were inherited from parents, from culture, from trauma. And you start to consciously choose which beliefs to keep and which to release. This is painful in a different way, because it requires radical honesty. You have to admit that you have been complicit in your own suffering, that you chose people who could not love you the way you needed, that you stayed in situations that drained you, that you betrayed yourself repeatedly to avoid conflict or rejection. But here's the gift in that realization. If you created this reality unconsciously, you can create a different reality consciously. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are the author of your experience, and that is terrifying and liberating at the same time. After albedo comes citrinitas, the yellowing, the illumination. This is when wisdom begins to crystallize. When suffering transforms into understanding, when pain becomes power, you start to see that every experience, no matter how devastating, was teaching you something essential about yourself. The betrayal taught you discernment. The loneliness taught you self-sufficiency. The failure taught you humility. The loss taught you impermanence. Every single thing that broke you was also building you, forging you into someone who can hold complexity, who can sit with paradox, who can love without attachment and care without losing yourself. And finally comes rubedo, the reddening, the completion. This is when the inner masculine and feminine unite, when thinking and feeling integrate, when logic and intuition become one. You are no longer split between who you are and who you think you should be. You simply are. Whole. Integrated. Conscious. Most people never reach this stage. They get stuck in nigredo, in the darkness. They let the pain harden them instead of refine them. They become bitter instead of better. They close their hearts instead of expanding their consciousness. But you are not most people, because you are still here, still seeking, still willing to walk through the fire even though you do not know what waits on the other side. That willingness is everything. That is what makes you alchemical material. That is what qualifies you for transformation. So do not give up now. Not when you are so close. Not when the gold is about to emerge from the ashes. But I need to tell you something that most spiritual content will not say, because it is not comfortable. It is not inspirational in the conventional sense, but it is true. And you deserve truth more than you deserve comfort. Here it is. When you awaken, when you integrate, when you rise from this dark night, your life does not suddenly become easy. In fact, in some ways it becomes harder, because you can no longer live unconsciously. You can no longer numb yourself. You can no longer pretend you do not see what you see. You will look at the world and see suffering everywhere, not just your own, but collective suffering, inherited trauma, systemic pain, and you will feel it all, because sensitivity does not disappear when you heal. It sharpens, it deepens, it becomes your gift and your burden. You will also lose people, not because you are better than them, but because your frequency has changed. The relationships built on dysfunction cannot survive your healing. The people who needed you to stay small will feel threatened by your expansion, and they will either grow with you or fall away. This will hurt, even though you know it is necessary. You will grieve friendships that no longer fit. You will mourn the version of yourself that could still participate in shallow connections. You will feel alone in rooms full of people because no one speaks the language you now speak. But here is what Jung understood. Individuation, the process of becoming whole, is not a group activity. You have to walk parts of this path alone. Not because you are isolated, but because your journey into consciousness is uniquely yours. No one can do it for you. No one can accompany you into your own depths. And yet, paradoxically, when you complete this journey, you are more connected than ever. Not to people's egos, but to their souls. You see through the masks. You feel the common humanity beneath the differences. You recognize that everyone is fighting the same battle in different forms. The battle between ego and self, between fear and love, between separation and unity. That recognition creates a different kind of connection, one that does not require constant contact or validation, one that exists beyond time and space, soul to soul. You will meet people and know instantly that you are walking the same path, not because you share the same experiences, but because you share the same consciousness. These connections will be rare, but they will be real, and they will sustain you in ways that 1,000 superficial relationships never could. This is the responsibility that comes with awakening. You become a bridge between worlds, between the conscious and unconscious, between the wounded and the whole, between the sleeping and the awake. And people will feel something different in your presence, even if they cannot name it. Some will be drawn to you, seeking the light they sense but cannot yet see in themselves. Others will be repelled, threatened by the mirror you hold up. Your very existence challenges their illusions. And that is not your fault. That is not your burden to carry. Your only responsibility is to remain true to what you have learned, to not dim your light to make others comfortable, to not return to unconsciousness to fit in, to not betray the wisdom you have earned through suffering, because that would be the real tragedy, not the pain you endured, but refusing the gift that pain was trying to give you. If you have made it this far, leave a comment and tell me what resonated most. I read every single one. You are not invisible here. And so we arrive at the final truth, the one that will complete this transmission. You have been through death. Symbolic death. The death of illusions. The death of false identity. The death of who you thought you needed to be to deserve love. But death is never the end. It is always a doorway, and you are about to step through it into a life you cannot yet imagine, because the mind that created your old reality cannot conceive of the reality that awaits you. You will still have challenges. You will still feel pain. You will still face uncertainty, but your relationship to all of it will be different. You will not be consumed by it. You will witness it, feel it, learn from it, and let it pass through you like weather moving through an open sky. You will no longer need to control outcomes, because you will trust the process. You will no longer need to force connections, because you will know that what is meant for you cannot miss you. You will no longer need to prove your worth, because you will have found the unshakable worth that lives independent of external validation. This is freedom, not the absence of problems, but the presence of consciousness within problems. The ability to hold suffering without being defined by it. The capacity to feel everything without being destroyed by anything. Jung said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that is what you are doing right now. Becoming, not someone new, but someone true. The person you were always meant to be beneath all the conditioning and trauma and fear. And when you finally arrive at that place, you will look back at this dark night and understand. It was not punishment. It was preparation. It was not abandonment. It was initiation. It was not the end of your story. It was the beginning of your legend. Because everyone who has ever done anything meaningful, everyone who has ever inspired others, everyone who has ever left a mark on this world, they all walked through their own darkness first. They all faced their own annihilation. They all questioned whether they could survive. But they did, and so will you. Your dark night is ending. Not because the circumstances have changed, but because you have changed. You are no longer the person who entered this crucible. You have been refined, purified, transformed, and soon, very soon, you will begin to see the evidence of that transformation in your external reality. New opportunities will appear. New people will enter. New paths will open, not because you are chasing them, but because you have become someone who naturally attracts them. Your frequency has shifted, and reality must reorganize itself to match that new frequency. This is not wishful thinking. This is law. Energetic law. Consciousness creates reality, and your consciousness has just undergone a complete restructuring. The universe has no choice but to respond. So take a deep breath. Feel your body. Notice that you are still here, still alive, still present. That in itself is a victory. You survived what was meant to destroy you, and that makes you powerful in ways you do not yet comprehend. The dawn is coming. You cannot see it yet, but if you look closely, you might notice the first hint of light on the horizon. That subtle shift from black to deep blue. That barely perceptible change that signals the night is ending. You are in that moment right now. The moment just before sunrise. The darkest point, but also the turning point. Hold on just a little longer, because when that sun breaks over the horizon, everything will be illuminated. And you will see clearly for the first time why you had to walk through all of this. You will see that nothing was wasted. Not a single tear. Not a single sleepless night. Not a single moment of despair. It was all necessary. All purposeful. All part of the grand design that was always guiding you home to yourself. So if you are still watching this, know that it is not by chance. Your soul called this message into your life because you were ready to hear it, ready to receive it, ready to remember that your dark night was never meant to last forever. The universe does not break its own children. It refines them. And you, my friend, have been in the refiner's fire. But the heat is lowering now. The pressure is easing. The transformation is nearly complete. Soon you will emerge, changed, whole, awake. And when you do, the world will feel your presence. Not because you are loud, but because you are real. And reality has a frequency that cannot be ignored. Your comeback is not coming. It is already here, happening in this moment. In every breath you take that chooses life over despair. In every morning you wake up and keep going even when you do not know why. In every silent prayer you whisper into the darkness, trusting that something is listening, that something is your own soul, and it has been listening all along, orchestrating everything, guiding you through the labyrinth, leading you back to the center where you were always meant to stand, sovereign, conscious, free. This is not the end of your story. This is the beginning, the real beginning, the one that starts not when everything is perfect, but when you finally accept everything as it is, including yourself, especially yourself. Thank you for being here, for having the courage to face your darkness, for trusting that these words would find you exactly when you needed them. You are not alone in this. You never were. We are all walking each other home, and your dark night, as impossible as it seems right now, is about to end. The light is coming. Can you feel it?